Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Arthur, who pinched me?
Guilty. You're irresistible.
Yes, very amusing, Invisible Man. Hello, great to see you.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Now, a few things about this week's show. Firstly, you'll know it's not Monday. It's in fact Tuesday, the 27th of October, and the fact that it is 9 o'clock. Now, this would be probably the area where Andy would interject and say his name and all that kind of stuff. Well, in fact, he is not here. And so in that case, I would normally go, well, here's Stuart to join me, or somebody else to join me. Yeah, this Stuart this week, though, is on his own. And it is down to technical reasons. A few weeks ago, my computer decided to go, nope, I don't want to work with you anymore. I don't want to work with Windows 10. I hate that operating system. I want you to suffer. This week, however, Andrew's computer has decided to go, guess what, I don't want to work with you, full stop. And so it's decided to kaputskied on him. So we were trying to connect via Wi-Fi signal from his end on an iPad. However, his Wi-Fi signal has just decided to go, nope, I'm not working. So the brilliant world of technology that brings shows like this has decided again, yes, I'm not working for anybody this week. So I'm going to have to do the show on my own. And what a week to end off doing the show on your own. Normally, when I've done the show a couple of times on my own, and it's been pretty much a quiet week. And Andy's done the show on his own, and again, it was pretty much a quiet week when we did the show. This week, however, I've got the unfortunate thing of reviewing Spectre, the new Bond film. So I end up doing the show on my own when the brand new Bond film is out, and that was the whole reason why we delayed the show to Tuesday. So, I'm on my own, and as I revealed there, I'll be looking at Spectre and Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension in the cinema section. And on Blu-ray and DVD, I've got a lot of films, but I'll go through them quite quickly. So I've got Mr. Holmes and Entourage the movie, and then a deluge of horror movies, because Halloween is this Saturday, if you're listening to us live. If not, it is the 31st of October. You should know that by now. And so there might be a horror movie out of this selection of 5 films for you to choose from to watch on the 31st of October. And they are Poltergeist, the extended cut, I Spit on Your Grave 3, Vengeance is Mine, yes, a third I Spit on Your Grave from the remake side of things. Hell, which is a British werewolf film. Hellions, which is a very strange movie from the director of Pontypool. And also a quick look over a documentary I reviewed a couple of weeks ago in the cinema section called The Nightmare. On top of that, I have a couple of TV movies of the week, very horror related. The Blu-ray and DVD top 10, the UK box office top 10, which is a new one, which is on the site, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. But let's kick things off with some movie news. Before I do, in the bottom right corner of the screen, if you're listening to us live, is the live chat. Please join me, because like I said, I am all on my own, and so I could do with a bit of company. So movie news. I haven't got very much movie news, and it's really weird reading news out without anybody feeding off you, but here goes. The Hollywood remake of the Indonesian action film The Raid has not only lost its director Patrick Hughes, but Taylor Kitsch, who we at the Monday Movie Show absolutely love, has also dropped out of the project. And so, yeah, it's sort of an indication to Hollywood that you shouldn't remake The Raid. The Raid was Gareth Evans' film. Gareth Evans is a Welsh a guy from Wales, and he moved over to Indonesia, and he was an advert producer, and he was actually asked to do an advertisement in Indonesia, and that turned out to be a film, and that film turned out to be The Raid. And so The Raid was hugely successful, not only in sort of like the cult status with people who loved martial art movies, but it found its way into the hearts of people who even didn't like martial art films. For example, myself. I hate martial art movies. I find them tedious, repetitive, and boring. Whereas for some reason I found The Raid exhilarating. And he tried up the ante with The Raid 2, and it's got some memorable set pieces, slightly overly too long, but it's still an absolutely amazingly adrenaline-filled movie. And so with America, they thought, we've remade sort of like Korean movies before, and everything from Ring to Open Waters, I was going to say. Actually, it is called Dark Waters. To The Grudge, so horror films. They tried Oldboy. They failed miserably with Oldboy, even though it did finally see the light of day. And now they want to try with The Raid. And so they got the director, Patrick Hughes, of the last Expendables movie to helm the project, and thinking, yeah, that actually might be a good idea if we did get them. But guess what? He's decided to go, nope. And so maybe it's the call of Sylvester Stallone to help him out with Expendables 4 might have actually persuaded him to go away from that. And Taylor Kitsch, who's an actor in the wooden sense, he belongs to the school of the Kristen Stewart, who I've actually started to really like now, has decided to drop out of the project as well. So what does that say to you about the project? Just don't remake it. Don't attempt to remake it. So I'm sort of glad this is happening, but Frank Grillo is still attached to it. He's going to play the lead role. They need to do something special with this, because it's just going to be an absolutely forgettable movie. It's going to be lambasted by the fans of the original one, and it's just going to be it's going to be hated at the box office. Small pieces of news. Elizabeth Banks has revealed that she will return to direct the third Pitch Perfect film. It's that to me, that's no news whatsoever, because she did 1 and 2. It was obviously obvious that she was going to do number 3. Money talks. The first 2 were stupidly successful for Universal, and so money talks for them. Indiana Jones will not recast Harrison Ford. So in other words, if there is ever going to be any more Indiana Jones films without the character of Indiana Jones, they will have to look at different characters, i.e. young Indy. And so they were trying to set up Shia LaBeouf from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to be that, but everybody sort of like didn't like Shia LaBeouf, and everybody still doesn't like him. So in that instance, that will not happen. So they'll probably go with a young Indiana Jones, which is a good idea, because I used to really like the young Indiana Jones TV series, and they did a few sort of like extended episodes, so TV movies of the young Indiana Jones stuff. So they can go down that route. Who they would actually get, I'm not sure yet, but it's probably a better idea to sort of like retire the whip and hat of Indiana Jones played by Harrison Ford, and sort of like carry on the story somewhere else, because Harrison Ford is just too old now. He would not be able to do the role of Indiana Jones very much longer. 2 more pieces of news. The director of Gem and the Holograms is receiving death threats due to the film flopping in America. That director in question is John M. Chu, who did Now You See Me. We don't condone this. Violence to anybody is stupid, especially for somebody who's directed a movie. Just because it flopped, fans decided to send him death threats. Well, isn't it your fault for making the film flop in the first place? If you're a fan of the film, you would go along to see it. If you're a fan of the series, you would go along to see the film of the series. You wouldn't say, oh no, I'm not going to do that, and then think it's your right to send death threats to people. What's the point in doing that? Use your brain for once. It's typical, no offense to anybody from America who's listened to this, who sort of like got their head screwed on, but it is the typical American thing. Oh, this film of a TV series that I used to watch is sort of like, is done really bad at the box office. Let's do something what we always do. Let's send death threats to the director. It's a silly, silly, stupid thing to do. It's your fault that the film underperformed at the box office. Go to see the movie then if that's the case. Give the movie some of your money. Give the movie some of your love. Instead of doing what you've done, use your voice in a proper manner rather than in a stupid, silly, silly manner. Last piece of news. Thor Ragnarok starts shooting in June 2016 in Australia, which is where Alien 5 will shoot also. It's a big coup, this, for Australia. So they've managed to actually get sort of like 2 big movies to over there. I don't know what their tax breaks are like in the UK. They're getting much better, but yeah, it's a big, massive coup for Australia. So yeah, well done to them. Now, this is going to be brilliant radio because my voice is disappearing quickly. I need to take a drink of water. So for there was a bit of silence because I need to get into the UK box office top 10. So number 10 is The Lobster, which Andy reviewed last week. Very, very quirky, sort of like comedy drama from the director of Dogtooth. He quite enjoyed it. He said it lost its way a little bit near to the end of it, but it's still a pretty decent film. Managing to steer in the top 10 as well from only 84 sites. So you can check out the box office top 10, the new one. It's up on the site mondaymovieshow.co.uk. At number 9 is Legend. Tom Hardy's the best thing about this. He plays both the Crate twins in the film. The rest of the movie, especially the narrative tone of it, it just falls flat. The story is very boring, very mundane. There is nothing you learn about the Crate twins that we didn't already know. The supporting characters, apart from Taron Egerton's one, it just lacks. It feels a punch. There is a couple of tiny brutal scenes in it, but you expect that from the Crates. At number 8 is Crimson Peak. Now, I loved Crimson Peak. I loved its opulence. I loved its cinematography. I loved the way Guillermo del Toro twists horror movies on their heads by not making it horror. In this case, it's a very dark fantasy fairy tale, but still injects it with his brilliant eye for film. This is a director who's passionate about the projects that he's doing. He looks at them in depth. He looks at the minutiae of a scene. He looks at what he could do with pretty much wallpaper, or what he could do with butterflies, or just the smallest little detail that other directors would probably stupidly focus on and not do anything with. Yet Del Toro manages to bring something out of it. I thought the acting was very well done. Tom Hiddleston, in his sort of like 40 years prior kind of clobber, his character is really well implemented in it. Jessica Chastain, she's very creepy. Mia Wasikowska, depends on how you pronounce her name. I loved the way her character was portrayed through that. She had an innocence to her, but she was a very tough character as well, and so I loved the film. Andy didn't think of it that as well as me, but I loved it. Number 7 is Sicario, directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did Prisoners and the very underrated The Enemy, which I want a lot of people to actually see that one. It didn't do very well at the box office because it was only released in small screens. And Sicario, I think it's his weakest film out of those three. It's still really interesting. Emily Blunt is very well... her character is very well created, and that tries to be a lot like Jessica Chastain's character in Zero Dark 30, but I think she played it really well. Number 6 is Pan. Add a Tina S on the end of that, and you've got exactly what I thought of the film. It's absolute pants. It was a movie that was supposed to have come out 6 years? 6 years? That would have been a hell of a long time ago. 6 months prior, it was delayed. A lot of scenes were supposedly touched upon, and a few were reshot, etc. I don't know what they did to it, because from the director of Harry Potter series, a couple of the Harry Potter films, I don't know what went wrong. It's the sort of like telling of the Peter Pan story, sort of like a prequel to the Pan story, to find out exactly how Peter got his name, Pan. But it's just boring. It's really boring. Number 5 is The Last Witch Hunter. We were supposed to review that on this week's show, Andy was anyway. However, he'll give us his thoughts on it on next week's show, hopefully. And number 4 is Suffragette, telling the true story of the suffragette movement, which happened during the war in the UK. Brilliantly acted. Brutal at times. It really does push the 12-year boundary a lot. There's a few scenes which are very shocking. Specifically, there's a scene outside of the House of Commons where the bill is trying to be passed, and the suffragettes, the women who were protesting outside, get badly beaten by police officers. And what the director does, he just never moves the camera away from it. You do see the brutal beating of these women, and that's in a 12-year. There is some suggestive sexual abuse in the film as well, which is quite harsh for a 12-year. So I'm surprised it did get a 12-year, but it definitely needs to be seen. Number 3 is a new entry for Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimensions. I'll get onto that in a little bit. Number 2 is The Martian. Ridley Scott back on form. It's thanks to a fantastic script written by Drew Goddard. Scott works better when he's got a script written as well as the one is in The Martian. Matt Damon, who we pick on a lot on this show thanks to his brilliant puppet in Team America World Police, redeems himself a lot. He redeems himself a lot in a lot of films that he does. And in this movie, it's when you're a lonely person, which I know how he feels at this moment in time, stranded on the planet of Mars, which I might as well be there. And it's just how it manages to impact him, and when a crew tries to rescue him as well. And so I thought it was really entertaining. It did grate on me a tiny little bit when it came to the humour, because it was a slightly too much. But I sort of forgive it because of the fact that the script had punch and the film had punch. And still at number 1 is Hotel Transylvania 2. Nowhere near as good as the first one. It's got a few okay scenes in it. It's not bad animation. It's the best Adam Sandler film since Hotel Transylvania, because he's not on screen. So it's staying at number 1 because of the fact that the rest of the films in the top 10, if you look at the movies from 1 to 6, each one of them took more than £1 million, but Hotel Transylvania had 2 million to its total. Now 9.4 million, surpassed its original easily. It should easily get past the 10 million mark before Spectre gets released upon the box office top 10, which will be in next week's chart. And I'll take another drink of water again. Brilliant radio. And get on to Spectre, which is... Now, if you live under a rock, you probably don't know who James Bond is. However, if you're like any of the Bond people out there, the Bond fans, this is probably one of the most eagerly awaited films of the year. The amount of advertisements, whether it be on television, on radio, trailers when you go to see other films in the cinema, on billboards, on the side of buses, in newspapers, has been really immense. It's been insane. I am sick of seeing adverts for the Bond film, and then Sam Smith decided to release his brilliantly dulcet tones onto the world with one of the worst tracks of this year. It's just him moping and moaning through 3.5 minutes of people missing him. And so James Bond is now back on the screen. It had a very interesting release in the fact that it was released the same day as its UK premiere. So the first showing of Spectre was at 7:30, which is when the UK premiere happened. Actually, it happened around about 8 o'clock. So if you take out the adverts that you normally see during the film, that's when Spectre started. And so Sam Mendes returns as direction duty. It's his second James Bond film. It might be his last. Daniel Craig returns as the title character of James Bond. Again, he's indicated he wants this to be his last, even though he's got one more film left to do. And so in this movie, at the start of the film, you've got James Bond. He's in Mexico at Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, which is a Mexican sort of like tradition which they do and celebrate every single year, celebrate the life and the death of characters. And so he's not actually supposed to be there. He's involved in a huge, massive incident which causes the destruction of multiple buildings and stuff like that. On returning back to the UK, obviously, Bond's sort of like head person who looks after him, played by Ralph Fiennes, who plays M, is not very happy. So he grounds Bond, pretty much. And so he tells Bond that he's not allowed to go outside of London. He's not allowed to go on any more missions or anything like that at all. However, it's Bond, so he decides to go, nope, I'm not listening to you. And so with the help of Ben Whishaw's character, who plays Q, he decides to escape and get out of there. And he decides to track down somebody who was elusive in his past. Tried to track down a sinister organisation also known as Spectre. And involved with Spectre, you've got the character of Madeleine Swan, who's played by Léa Seydoux, who he gets the help with her, with information from Monica Bellucci's character, who plays Lucia, and so both him and Madeleine, Bond and Madeleine, have to go on the run to try and track down the evil main bad guy, played by Christoph Waltz in this film, who plays Franz Oberhausen. I've got a clip just to give you an indication of what the film is like, so here's a clip.
Information is all. Is it not? For example, you must know by now that the 00 program is officially dead. Which leads me to speculate exactly why you came. So, James, why did you come?
I came here to kill you.
And I thought you came here to die.
Well, it's all a matter of perspective.
So that's one of the altercations between both Oberhausen and Bond, and then obviously you're gonna have multiple bad guys trying to track down Bond, and so you've got one who's played by Dave Bautista, and then you've got. He's not like a bad guy, but he works for an agency who's trying to destroy the 00 program and also try to group together multiple intelligence agencies from 8 different countries, played by Andrew Scott, who is known as C in the film. Now, if you listen to this show, we did review Skyfall a couple of years ago, and you knew my thoughts on it. I thought the film was okay, Skyfall, on its first viewing. However, when I saw it the second time, I picked it apart badly, and I thought the film was quite weak. Now, that took 2 viewings for me to get to that conclusion. The thing with Spectre is, it's an excruciatingly boring film. The opening set piece is very much indicative to what Mission Impossible's opening set piece was. It's very big, it's very brash, it's very loud, and so you probably expect this might be sort of like the Bond back in the old kind of days. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. There's going to be some really interesting set pieces. There's going to be some cheesy dialogue, some interesting tete-a-tete between Bond and the main bad guy, and so we might enjoy ourselves. And the opening set piece sort of like alludes to that. And when we get to Ben Wishaw's character, and we're thinking, yeah, he's back, he's slightly more sarcastic, they've upped that a little bit more, but still, Q is an entertaining character, and fine. After that, though, it goes majorly downhill, because the set pieces are few and far between. When they do happen, they're okay, they're executed fine, but they're nothing special at all. Leah Sedo's character, who plays Madeline Swan, who is the main Bond girl in this, she's supposed to be tough, yet she's boring. She's just really boring. You've got another one, sort of like a love interest in a way, Lucia, Monica Bellucci's character, again, completely throwaway. But the bad guy, played by Christoph Waltz, he's not playing a bad guy, he's playing himself. That's all he's doing. There is no malevolence behind him. It's sort of like, if you take the Joker and then mix him with the Riddler and take out all the fun of both of those characters, that is Christoph Waltz's one. Sorry. And so the bad guy is flat. His henchmen are beyond flat. The humour doesn't help the film at all. The set pieces are passable at best. Daniel Craig looks like he's just uncomfortable now with playing James Bond. Like, he doesn't care anymore. And so the film itself is dull, boring, overly too long, and I did go into this with low expectations because of the fact that I'm not a James Bond fan, and I've had multiple comments from people saying that the only reason why you're bashing this film is because you're a James Bond fan, and that's not true. Even if you take the James Bond name out of the film, and I know it's not like James Bond Spectre, but even if you take the character of James Bond out of the film, I still would have found the film exactly the same as I think. It's bland and boring. You add the James Bond into it, and it doesn't make any difference to me. It's a series that's pretty much had its time. It's going to do brilliantly at the box office, but it is a series that fans are now seeing that something needs to be done. Because if you go onto Reddit, on the James Bond subreddit, if you look at the main topic, a lot of people are unhappy with the way the film is sort of like played out. And if you look on its IMDb, the last time I checked, it had a 6.8 on its star rating. And so with it being a Bond film, you would expect it to be very up there near to the 8s. In this case, though, it's not. And I do have to say that the film itself is a very, very big miss, and that's all I can say about it. Andrew will have his take on it on next week's show. The other cinema release of the week is Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension, and speak about a series that had its time beyond itself. This is the 6th entry into the Paranormal Activity series, and you're probably thinking to yourself, probably 4 too many, because the first and second films are actually okay. After that, then it just falls downhill. It's directed by Gregory Plotkin, and it centers around, stop if you heard this before, a family who move into their perfect house, The father of the family discovers a box with loads of videotapes in and an old camera. This camera, however, is known as a spirit camera. And when you shoot things with it, not only do you get your normal video stuff, but you also could see the outline of an evil spirit. This evil spirit ends up being Toby, the elusive spirit from the series itself, which sort of like went up with Katie and Christy in the first one, and then you find out through the rest of the series how it managed to latch onto them. And so this spirit, Toby, latches onto the young daughter of the family, and it's up to the rest of the family to try and find a way of stopping it. Here's a clip.
Katie, Christy, I want you to concentrate.
Concentrate. I need you to concentrate.
She's like in some sort of like trance state or something. They're inducing a trance.
Where'd you get this? From a box of like 80 VHS tapes the old homeowners left in the basement.
This tape is like 20 years old.
Tell me what you see.
I think I see 2 men. What are your names?
Brian.
Mike.
We're the Fleege brothers.
Brothers. Daddy, I can't sleep.
What's going on?
I hear noises in my room.
You hear noises in your room? Okay, well, Daddy will go up and make sure everything's...
Bless you.
What the hell?
So it sort of gives you an indication of what to expect in Paranormal in Activity 5 or whatever you want to call it, because it is actually paranormal. It's boring. It's really tediously boring. The use of the 3D at first is fine. The ghost dimension stuff, when you first see it, you're thinking, oh, particle effects. And particle effects work really well in 3D. And so, yeah, it's okay. It's implemented quite well. It's the typical thing that the Paranormal Activity series does. If you look at the previous one, not the spin-off one, the marked ones, the previous Paranormal Activity movie, it used Microsoft's Kinect. And now there was a scene in it where the whole room went black and you saw the green dots from the Kinect. Now that's how it maps people's bodies. And so that was inventive. That was really well implemented. And it overused that during the entirety of the film. Now, the ghost dimension stuff in this one is used beyond overly use, because there is a line when you might use it a couple of times and think, oh, it's effective. And then if you use it more than that, you're thinking to yourself, you're starting to lose yourself a little bit. You're starting to become repetitive. And then it becomes uber repetitive. And then it becomes so stupidly repetitive, you think to yourself, why? Can't you think of something new to do? And it's used multiple times in this to boring effect. There is one scene where it literally tries to come swarming at you at the screen, and you're going, oh, God, will you just end? And then the last 15 minutes decides to go into insane territory. And I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just see it. If you're a fan of the Paranormal Activity series, the marked ones ended off the series very well. This one just makes you go, what? That's all it makes you go. It definitely makes you go, wah. Because the ending for it is ridiculously stupid. So it's a series that had its time after the end of the second one. It's a series that's 3-4 movies too much now. And I'm glad that it's over. Until, probably a few years down the line, just like there's Murmurings for the Saw series, which went through 7 films. There is Mutterings and Murmurings that Saw might get the reboot happenings in America, or the remake happenings in America. That might be the case with the Paranormal Activity series 5 years down the line. When they think, oh, there's a now resurgence of shaky cam horror films again, why don't we make another Paranormal Activity film? And if you do that, please put it direct to DVD or something like that, because it makes its money. It's a series that stupidly makes its money, because it's a movie series that's taken nearly $1 billion worldwide. And this is off a cumulative total, now this is insane, of around about $25 million. All 6 films cost $25 million, around about that, to make. And it's managed to make very close to $1 billion worldwide. Jason Blum, you are rolling in it. Please use that money to good effect. Right. Time for a break now. Gives me a chance to get my breath a little bit, to get a bit of water. I'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD Top 10 and some more movie reviews, which include Mr. Holmes and a deluge of horror films.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement. when the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
Welcome back. That was an advert from Page to Scream, the horror show. You heard in that advert there, Eric England, the fantastic director, Eric England. I cannot wait for his new film, Get the Girl. We at the horror show, we're eager to actually see that. So yeah, we definitely can't wait for that. And Stuart, he has got a conglomerate of excellent shows. So head over to FromPageToScreen.com to listen to the podcasts I'm on. He's From Page to Scream, as well as Scream Queen LR, which is the beautiful and fantastic Lauren. If she ever does any photographs or anything like that, pay attention to them. Check out her. I don't know if she's got an Instagram page or whatever. Hound her on Twitter. Tell her you want to see more of her photography, because it is absolutely eerily outstanding, but so beautiful. So she's got an eye for that kind of thing. Right, in this section of the show, in the home release section of the show, I'll be looking at movies which include Mr. Holmes, Entourage the movie, Poltergeist, I Spit on Your Grave, Vengeance is Mine, Howl, Hellions and the Nightmare. TV movie of the week, my movie of the week. It's going to be difficult. Blu-ray DVD top 10, I'll quickly go through this because a lot of them are repeats. And number 10 is the Back to the Future trilogy. It's there because of Back to the Future Day, which happened last week. Brilliant series. If you don't own it already, then get out there and buy a copy of it. It's a movie series that definitely lives up there with films like Gremlins and Flight of the Navigator and Stand By Me and the best of the 80s. We were playing it in my work all through the week, and it's just a joy to watch that over and over again. And number 9 is Lego Justice League. It's a new entry. It's one of those DVDs which you find in your local convenience store for about £5 or something, like a Stockholm filler one. Number 8 is Avengers Age of Ultron. We said absolutely everything we can about it. It's a series that probably Joss Whedon has decided to step away from it. It's pretty much had his time with the series, and so well done for him to actually realise that. Number 7 is The Lion King, which is part of Disney's Buy One, Get One Free. It's still an ongoing thing that's happening. It's brilliant. 6 is Hotel Transylvania. Watch this one instead of the sequel. It's a much more entertaining film. 5 is Big Hero 6. Baymax is genius. It's another fantastically creative character from Disney Pixar. So yeah, definitely say that. Number 4 is a new entry for the Jurassic Park collection. Get on to the reason why that's in the top 10 in a couple of moments. Number 3 is Mad Max Fury Road. Still, probably is my movie of the year. The most entertaining film I've definitely watched this year. Number 2 is San Andreas. Completely the flip opposite. It's The Rock against a giant rock. It's an earthquake, in other words. The San Andreas fault, that's him up against that. And at number 1 is Jurassic World. Obviously, it was going to be number 1. It was the big film released on DVD last week. Did stupid amounts at the UK box office. Also, probably done stupid amounts on DVD and Blu-ray. I will probably pick up a copy for myself for Christmas. It's a good film. Colin Trevorrow was the director of it, and he only did one other film prior to this. Chris Pratt, he got in. Chris Pratt is an entertaining watch anyway, no matter what you see him in, whether it be Guardians of the Galaxy or I think it's Parks and Recreation, or any of the TV programs that he's been involved in. Not Movie 43, though. If anybody likes Movie 43, there's something seriously wrong with you. But yeah, he's an entertaining actor, and so he brings a little bit to this one. It's got some problems, but you never expected it to be absolutely perfect. You just wanted to be entertained, and it manages to do that. At least with it being the sort of like the fourth one in the series, it didn't end off like The Kingdom and the Crystal Skull, whereas that one was a travesty. This one is watchable. At least you can definitely say that it's watchable. Right, quite a few DVDs to go through, so I might as well just steamroll through them. Mr. Holmes is directed by Bill Condon and stars Ian McKellen, and so as the title suggests, this is the story, well, it's the final story, about the eponymous detective Sherlock Holmes. Very British-centric character, very British-centric character created by Arthur Conan Doyle, who... If you watch any of the Sherlock Holmes TV program or any of the previous movies or read any of the books or anything, brilliantly played by Basil Rathbone in the early times of sort of like 1940s, 1950s. He was very famous for wearing the deerstalker hat and the pipe, smoking the pipe and playing the violin, etc. Where this one, it tells a bit of a different story. This is the last few sort of like years of Sherlock Holmes, and so now he lives with he's retired in a small little Sussex village. As a matter of fact, he lives with his housekeeper now, and so she keeps an eye on him, who's played by Lauren Linney, and she has a son played by Milo Parker. Now, Milo Parker sort of like befriends Sherlock Holmes and sort of like discovers what his life was like and how all of his stories was written about him by Watson. And so Sherlock Holmes recounts one story which involves him going over to China to meet up with an acquaintance to try and get this medicine which helps him with his day-to-day life to try and remember things so he can finally write his final book to tell people about the true life of Sherlock Holmes rather than the fictitious stuff that Watson was actually writing about him. Here's a clip.
You are very great detective.
Thank you very much.
彼はあの有名なお帽子を持参されましたか?
My mother. She wonders if you have brought your famous hat.
Oh, the deerstalker. That was an embellishment of the illustrator. I've never worn one.
And a pipe?
I prefer a cigar. I told Watson, if I ever write a story myself, it will be to correct the myriad misconceptions created by his imaginative license.
Did you write such a story?
But I'm trying to do so now.
And so, as you heard in that clip there, he's very frail, he's very fragile, and that's the way the film plays out. It plays out in three different periods. It plays out in the Bond, I was going to say, you just imagine Ian McKellen playing Bond. It plays out as the Sherlock Holmes, as the one that we know of. And then the other part of the story involves Sherlock Holmes in Japan and China. They're trying to acquire this medication that enables him to remember things. And then the other section, the third section, is about Holmes and his final time at this cottage, and especially the friendship that he manages to sort of like happen with Milo Parker's character. And now that's the section which is the most interesting part, because Milo Parker is fantastic in this movie. He's a very inquisitive person, sort of like, in a way, reminds Holmes of what he was like at his age, at the age of 12, asking questions, being inquisitive, trying to solve riddles and things like that. And that's what brings Holmes more alive rather than the medication that he takes. The weakest part of the story is the medication side. It didn't need that. It just needed to expand more on the relationship with Milo Parker's character, and also more so on Holmes moving to this small little house in Sussex. And so that would have made the film much better. Because of the Japanese-Chinese section of the story, it sags a little bit. It becomes boring in them. However, Ian McKellen handles the character fantastically. I'm surprised it's taken him this long to actually play Sherlock Holmes, and so he handles the character brilliantly. And like I said, it's just the interaction between the boy and himself, which is the most enjoyable part of the film. So it could have been something much more special, but because of one section of it, that could always happen with the film. A small little section of a movie can always sort of like bring it down a little bit. That's not to say that you shouldn't seek out the film. If you are a Sherlock Holmes fan, then you definitely need to watch this, because it's an actor who should have played Sherlock Holmes 20, 30 years prior, because I think he would have been one of the most memorable ones over Basil Rathbone and over Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays Holmes in the TV series. Evidently, the new run of the TV series starts on January the 1st with supposedly a very spooky story. So it's set in Victorian time, so we'll see how that pans out. But I really liked Mr. Holmes. I would have absolutely loved it if it wasn't for that little section which needed to be cut out, to be honest. On the flip side, however, you've got Entourage, the movie, directed by Doug Ellin, who sort of like, I think he was involved with the TV series in some way, shape or form. I'm not 100% certain because I never watched the TV series. This centres around the characters of Eric, Vince, Drama, Turtle, ran by Ari Gold, who is their agent. Eric, who's played by Kevin Connolly, is the lead character in this one. And he's... not Eric, it's Vince, actually, who plays by Adrian Green. He's the lead character in this one. And he's an actor. He's actually finally made it big, supposedly, from what happened in the TV series. And now he's the talk of Hollywood. He wants for his next project, though, to be the director of it and starring in it. And so his brother gets involved in it, who's Drama. However, a lot of things happen where Drama doesn't seem to be the right person for it. And you uncover plots and things like that with each one of the characters that their lives aren't as special as they think that they are. Here's a clip.
Vinny, what's up?
Yeah, what's up, Mark?
I'm doing some looping for Ted 3.
3? How many of those are you going to do?
I'll do 20 if I can. What's the matter? Your girlfriend lock you out of that anymore?
No, my co-financier.
You serious? Well, my boys will break down the door right now. He's crazy.
Vinny.
What's up, Ari? What kind of studio are you running around here?
Mark, hey, calm down.
Dude, I'm calm, but you better get excited. I mean, you want everybody around town thinking that this is how you treat your filmmakers.
Right? What is going on?
I am dealing with it.
Yeah, what he said, he's not going to release any more money. Can he do that?
Ari.
He's got issues.
Oh, he doesn't like the movie?
It doesn't matter.
Tell him the truth. Don't be shy.
He doesn't like drama. Wants to cut him out.
Johnny?
Yeah.
I'm doing my reality show at Wahlburgers right now at A&E. If they try to cut out my mother, I'd kill somebody. Even if she sucked as bad as Drama probably sucks. Hey, you guys know Reggie from Jordan, right? You guys want some shoes?
No, we're good, Mark.
Now, the thing with Entourage, the movie, it's an horrendous movie. I hated this film. I went to see it after Andy did the review. It was just one of those movies where there was a chance that it possibly could make the worst 10 of the year. And so, inquisitive that I am, I decided to suffer through these films. And so I went to see it, and I came out of the cinema and went, yes, that definitely belongs in my worst 5 of the year. It's offensive to absolutely every single group of people possible. It's offensive to women, specifically offensive to women. It's offensive to just it's an awful film. All the characters are annoying. All the characters are repulsive. All the characters, you just want to see stop being a spoiled brat. You've got multiple millions of pounds of money, and all you can do is mourn and mope, going, oh no, it's not going right for me. Where? They're just really excruciatingly awful characters, and it's fine if it was only 1 or 2 of them, but when it's like all of them, you just want to tell them to shut the hell up. Just imagine being in the shoes of a normal person, having to live a normal day-to-day life, going to work, earning your hard-earned money, rather than just shooting 1 film a year where you earn millions, and then you can sit on your yacht and eat lobster and drink champagne and party all night and just be the most spoiled, annoying brat possible. It's repulsive. It's terribly acted. The script is so flabby and fake and false. It reminds you a lot of the Hollywood circle at the moment. It's just god-awful. If you're a fan of the TV series, you might find something from it because you know what the characters are like, but I don't want to spend 1 more second with these nasty, nasty characters, so it belongs easily in my worst 5 of the year. This is one of the worst films easily of the year. It's terrible. Now on to the glut of horror films that we've got. I've got anyway. Poltergeist, which is a remake of the brilliant original Tobe Hooper, produced by Steven Spielberg movie from 1982, if I remember correctly. This one's directed by Gil Kenan. It's pretty much a like-for-like remake. It centers around Sam Rockwell's character, who plays Eric Bourne, and his family. Rosemary DeWitt, who plays Amy, Saxon Cherubino, who plays Kendra, and Kyle Catlett, who plays Griffin. Kendra and Griffin are the 2 children. They've moved into their perfect home because Eric, the father, he's lost his job. He's now got very little income, and so they need to be able to move into a house which they could afford. And so this house is perfect for them. However, one night, spooky things start to happen, and this clip will actually perfectly explain what.
Can Griffin come too? Yes, I can be brave. Yes? But how will you get here?
Maddie, what's going on?
They're coming.
Who is? Who is coming?
And so, yeah, they are coming. And now, yeah, the clip there is actually playing a bit too much at the end. And so it just gives you an indication of what Poltergeist is like. It's a lazy remake. It tries to bring it back in. It tries to bring it into the 21st century because the original film is very inventive. You've got a really intelligent script. You've got a really well directed movie. It's very creepy, especially they're coming from the little girl and then getting dragged into the television. It's really inventive. David Cronenberg did a movie called Videodrome, which involves sort of similar kind of situation, but in fact it's David Cronenberg, so you know it's going to be very weird and strange. Whereas with this one, it uses all of that kind of stuff, but then it uses a sort of like a drone kind of copter which flies into the television to try and find the little girl when she gets dragged into there. So it uses technology, but not to its advantage, because it makes the movie less scary. When it gets into sort of like the nether area, it's very well created, but it's not scary. There are no scares in it whatsoever. It's a very tame movie. The extended edition, which I've not seen, is rated 15, so a few scenes were implemented back into the film itself. But this could easily have been a 12-year. You watch movies like The Woman in Black, and that's a 12-year. And that was creepy and scary and should have been a 15 easily. This one should have easily been a 12-year, because there is nothing, sort of like, no blood in it, no jump-out scares, and it's just silly. It's just silly. When you've got technologically advances as you have now, it doesn't mean that it's actually going to be able to enhance the movie. More so, it can actually harm the film because it can make the film feel more fake. So it's definitely one to avoid. Just go out and watch the original movie. It's a much better film. Now, continuing on with horror, 4 films which I'm going to quickly go through each one of them. You've got I Spit on Your Grave 3, Vengeance is Mine, which is the third in I Spit on Your Grave series on the remake side of things. You had the remake of the original 74, I think it was, I Spit on Your Grave. The remake came out a few years ago. Then you had a direct-to-DVD sequel, which was stupidly brutal. The original had one rape scene in it, and then it was the revenge from that rape scene. The sequel had multiple rape scenes in it, just when you were finally building up the character's confidence in it. Then she ends up getting raped brutally again. And so the third one, what they decided to do is they bring the character back from the original remake, who survived one. She's got a name change. She lives in the city. She's still having nightmares and seeing visions about people supposedly trying to hit on her and then ultimately doing the nasty act on her. She's part of a counselling group. And so this counselling group is not helping. She befriends somebody. Something nasty happens to her, and so she decides to take revenge on them. And now, the way this one's done, though, is it's still very brutal and graphic. There are a couple of scenes in it which will make anybody wince. No matter what sex you are, it will make anybody wince. But they've toned the rape side of it down a little bit, which, for me, it works better. Because the second film overdid it. When you've got a movie that is about somebody who's doing revenge from a nasty incident that happened, you want to have the nasty incident to be there, impactful into your mind, and you're definitely egging the person on to seek retribution. With the second one, they repeat that nasty act multiple times, and it waters it down so much so that it might sound horrible. No matter what they do, it's not as brutal as the original act. And this one, she enacts revenge for what has actually happened, and the revenge part of it is the brutal stuff. The rape stuff is sort of like kept on the back burner. It's always there, and there is a scene which gets very close to what we've seen in the previous films, but it's never fully shown, and I sort of like appreciate the director for doing that. The film itself is not that good. It's okay, but it's much better than the second one. It sort of, in a way, reminds me of what happened with the From Dusk Till Dawn series. If you watch the second one's horrible. The third one, The Hangman's Daughter, is watchable at times. There is a few okay scenes in it. That's what I Spit on Your Grave 3 Vengeance is Mine is like. It's still pretty bad, but it's pretty bad that's watchable. It's pretty bad that it is okay. It's pretty bad where the director realised that he might have went too far with the second one and sort of like tones it down. The complete opposite with what Tom Six did with the Human Centipede series. He just defecated all over that series, and so it's a film that I thought I would have actually hated. When in fact, after I watched it, I went, you know what? It's the original rape bit in it. That's still brutal, and thank you for doing it the way you handled it, including the group. The group session helps the film rather than hinders it. A couple other films. Howl is a British film directed by Paul Hyatt, who did The Season House. He's worked alongside Neil Marshall on a lot of special effects stuff for things like Dog Soldiers, The Descent, Centurion, Doomsday. So he's done a lot of Neil Marshall's films. Very small movie. It's about a group of passengers on a train. The train breaks down in the middle of a forest, and they're besieged by werewolves. You've got Ed Spillane, who plays the character of Joan. You've got Shauna MacDonald, who plays Kate. She was last seen in The Descent Part 2. And so it's a small little movie from Paul Hyatt. It doesn't have the tension of The Season in the House, which I thought was a really well-created movie, apart from the last 10-15 minutes of it. From a person who originally worked on special effects, especially werewolves with things like Dog Soldiers, you expect the lycanthropes to be sort of like very high-end, whereas in fact they're very cartoonish. I think that's the feeling of the film. You've got the annoying characters on the train. You've got the very stereotypical stuff that each one of them sort of like shouts at each other, and you've got betrayal and all that kind of thing. So you expect that in this one. But the letdown is the werewolves. The werewolves remind you more of like meowing kittens. They don't have a malevolence behind them, which they should have. His special effects makeup work is fine. It's not the best I've seen. I still think the best he's ever done is Dog Soldiers. Those werewolves are brilliant in that movie, and I think it still holds up today. It's a director who I would really like to pick his brains and see how he can come up with all that kind of stuff. So it's a director and a person who I do appreciate, and so there are scenes in the movie which I did like. It's just the film as a whole just didn't work. Hellions, from director Bruce McDonald, who did Pontypool. Pontypool is a very creepy movie about what would happen over radio waves infecting people. And so brilliant, actually, me mentioning that on something like this. But Hellions is about a woman who's she's sort of like getting into womanhood. She's 17. She's left behind by her mother and a younger sister who's gone out trick-or-treating. She is then besieged by these group of sort of like kids in a way, because they want her unborn child inside of her. Now, it's a mess of a film because he decides to shoot it very strangely. He decides to shoot in a very ethereal kind of form and very sepia kind of tones. There is very little colour in it apart from browns, and so the movie, it just doesn't work. It causes more of a headache because he tries to be very obscure with what's on screen. He tries to be very if you're watching a video, think movies like Videodrome or Eraserhead, or movies that try to be very strange and weird to make you question what's going on, while having a narrative that, if you dig deep enough, you'll be able to find it. And he fails with this because you don't want to dig deep enough to be able to come across that narrative, because you're scratching your head about what the hell is going on. You've got these demonic creatures which for some reason don't like water, yet every single time when something happens to them in water, she never cottons on to it. She never realizes, well, why don't I just walk around with a bucket of water and throw it at them? Instead, she thinks that a shotgun has a friend, when in fact, in most films it would be, but in this movie, a glass of water is your friend. So very much like something that you would see from an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And so, yeah, the film itself is nowhere near as good. Pontypool is in sort of like leagues ahead of this. If you were using a football analogy, this wouldn't even be in the Vanarama Conference, this movie. Whereas Pontypool would gladly sit in Division 1. So, Yeah, it's a very forgettable film. It's a director which I really liked from Pontypool, but he ended up adding a nail to a coffin, which I'm hoping he doesn't want to actually properly nail it shut with these future films. Quick mention to the Nightmare documentary I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. If you want to listen to the full review, listen to the show from a few weeks ago. It's a very pseudo-documentary about sleep paralysis. I didn't think it was handled very well at all. I thought the director sort of like lost his way. He tried to make the film very obscure and very weird, when in fact he just made it really annoying. And so that's it for the movies of this week. I managed to actually get through them quite quickly. Tried to keep the show to being an hour long, and so I think I managed to actually do that. A couple of TV movies of the week. I've chosen 2 from Film 4 because it is Halloween, having a Halloween weekend. And so the first one is a David Cronenberg film, Stalker. I'm not a huge Cronenberg fan, but Stalker's a very creepy movie. Mia Wasikowska, Nicole Kidman. Brilliantly created, brilliantly directed, brilliantly acted. Definitely one to see. And on Saturday the 31st, which is Halloween night, at 11:30, You're Next, which I love sort of like home invasion movies. And You're Next is definitely up there. It's definitely, it really does need to be watched because it's got tension, but it's also got buckets of gore, but it's also got the humour there, and it's also got the shocking scenes. There is one scene which made me aghast when I went to see this, not aghast as in Minecraft aghast. I don't float around going, a lot. It just made me go, go? In the cinema, and I think a few people actually turn around and go, he's a bit strange. That's just a normal time for me at the cinema anyway. But yeah, when I went to see it, I really like this film. And so that's on Film 4 on Saturday the 31st at 11:30, and Stalker is on Film 4 on Friday the 30th at a slightly early time of 9 o'clock. Considering it's an 18, Film 4 must have pulled a few strings to be able to get that done. And so that's it for this week's show. My movie of the week is a hard choice, and so all I'm going to say here is nothing. Just I know I should actually choose a film of the week, and if I wouldn't even say go and see Spectre. If you're a Bond fan, you probably will go to see it anyway, so it's a waste of time me saying that. So, that's it for this week's show. If you listen to us live, thank you very much. It would have been nice to have somebody in the live chat to chat along with me during the show, but I can't have everything. Make sure you visit the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk. Email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Twitter at mondaymovieshow. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole. Andrew's not here, he's at EHDVD. You can get us on Facebook, facebook.com/mondaymovieshow, and make sure you leave comments on the show on any iTunes or any of the Android apps. We're on multiple ones of them, thanks to the brilliant iHeartRadio. If you're in America, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio. Leave us a comment on there. We can't check it because we're in the UK. It's really difficult for us to do that. So throw us a comment on our Spreaker page if you do listen to us on iHeartRadio. I will be playing you out with a clip for a movie that's coming out at the end of November for us. It was released in the US Sunday gone. It's the movie about the life of Steve Jobs, the person who sort of like spearheaded Apple. Like I said, it will be out in mid-November. We should be back, hopefully, with Andrew and myself on Monday. It's probably going to be a show that's going to be shorter than normal, because it's a show where it's going to have pretty much no cinema releases, because there's nothing out this Friday apart from a couple of small films, but there is a few DVD releases. We'll sort all that kind of stuff out. You'll see all the details crop up on the website on mondaymovieshow.co.uk at the weekend, because I moved that stuff now to the weekend. But yeah, make sure you check all that stuff out. And like I said, I'll play you out with a clip for Steve Jobs. And again, thank you for listening in, and goodbye.
Jobs insists, I'm quoting,
didn't invent math.
28% of the male population of the United States could be the father.
I wasn't saying you slept with 28% of American men. I was using an algorithm based on the blood test, which said there was a 94.1% chance that I'm the father.
You're trying to publicly paint me as a slut and a whore.
Believe me, I'm not trying to publicly do anything with you.
2 million people read Time. How am I
supposed to? It would be more
to...
if they put me on the cover, but Dan Cocky
I
decided to kidney punch
yesterday.
me. I'm sorry?
I said I applied for welfare yesterday. The Time article said your Apple stock was worth $441 million. And I wanted to ask you how you felt about that.
Well, I feel like Apple stock has been dramatically undervalued. This would be a good time to get in.